Canada, Croeso e Cymru. More specifically, welcome to the borders of Gwynedd and Powys. I'm following a learner. I've just caught up with them. There we go, Gwynedd. There we are. And what I was going to say is, isn't it nice to see new people getting on board bikes? It's not the ideal day to be out on a bike, the weather's not great, but there they are, out and about, riding away. Fantastic, really good to see. Obviously out with some experienced riders. Isn't that nice? The reason I bring thinking of that was I was looking at bikes when I was at the bike show. I didn't produce a video because, let's face it, everyone and their dogs produce videos there. I just had better things to do, which was I look at the bikes. And I have to say, I find it quite depressing. Everyone that was there, or virtually everyone that was there, tended to be of the more mature rider, shall we say. And it's quite sad. I'm trying to get my son to ride a bike for no reason other than the fact it would be cost-effective transport for him when he doesn't want to use his car. And he won't, because he's convinced he'll kill himself, because he's convinced motorcycles are already dangerous. And he just won't ride. My daughter probably would ride if she could be bothered to go out and do a CBT and all the Mod 1, Mod 2. But the whole structure creates an inertia into getting onto the two wheels in the first place. Now, I used to teach CBTs, normal learning and direct access. I was qualified for all of those. And quite frankly, when they introduced the Mod 1, Mod 2, that was the final straw. I just couldn't go through all that. It was just too much. And I didn't enjoy teaching the bikes, if I'm honest. But is it any wonder why people don't actually go for the test? I still see people around learning, don't get me wrong, but that idea of cheap economical transport, freedom on two wheels, I'm not convinced people are really buying into it so much. Where I lived in Norfolk, there were quite a few kids who would go on scooters so they could get to college. It was the only way they could do it because of no bus, or no decent bus services back in the day. I don't know what it's like there now. Look at that, waterfalls, absolutely lovely. I assume it's a good spot. Yeah, so it just seems to me that in these days where we're trying to get less pollution, you know, that the government's doing lots of work around these scooters, which are an apparent menace to everybody. Everyone seems to hate them apart from the people that have them. The world of the powered two-wheeler isn't being harnessed, and it hasn't been harnessed for decades. I just find it rather a shame. And I do think that the testing system does seem a bit strange as to why they do it the way they do. I do know what some of this is. The reason why you have the Mod 1 tucked away in those compounds is purely because of an administrative mistake some years ago. When it was designed, the bureaucrats forgot that the standardisation in kilometres an hour meant that the test for that is Mod 1 in the compounds that we use has to be in a compound, because the actual speed limits that are specified would mean they have to do it on a higher than a 30-mile-an-hour road. So they had to build at a huge expense these compounds to then go through what is basically a bit of a faff of a Mod 1. And my understanding was that in Europe it was different. If anyone knows better, maybe they can correct me. But it does seem rather a shame, doesn't it? So what spurred me on to going on about this and rattling on and whinging and whining? Well, basically, it was a conversation I had with my daughter this morning, actually. We were discussing access going onto the ponies and the fact that I've dropped the suspension on the bike, lowered it slightly. And it was that just prompted her. Well, yeah, I could ride the bike now, got up there. And I was like, no, you can't, because you haven't got a licence. And it was, yeah, well, it's just too much hassle, really. So there you go. She's got a big polluting car on the road for no reason. Now, everyone's whinging and whining about the trains not running properly. They never did run properly. I commuted in the 80s and 90s into London. And I have to say, they were expensive, crowded, dirty, and slow then. I wouldn't say they were unreliable, but my journey from Vauxhall Cross to Watford could take anywhere between 1.5 and 2.5 hours, and you could never tell which way it would go. So some days you'd be commuting for 5 hours. And I was paying at the time an absolute fortune for the ticket. So, oh, we go egg gritting, well that's fun. So yeah, so what that prompted me to think was, why am I spending this amount of money having a bad service? I'm uncomfortable, I'm going between hot and cold all the time, and it's taking me an age. Well, if I want to be uncomfortable, I can do it for a lot less money. So I got on my bike. Norman Tebbit said, get on your bike. I got on my bike. Now, in those days, you didn't have to go through all those hoops of CBTs, Mod 1, Mod 2. I did do a BMF training scheme, I think it was. And it was excellent. It was the equivalent of a CBT, really. And there were about 4 lessons, if I remember, over a month. And I think it was an excellent scheme. Really good. I'm sure some people will remember it's not Star Rider or something. I can't remember for certain. And then from then on, I was riding all the way through central London, and it was not costing me very much at all. What I used to do was have a monthly season ticket, which I'd have during the winter, and then during the summer, ride a bike. The advantages that gave was I had parking at my place of work, I had parking at home, so I got out the house in my inclement weather gear rather, rode to work and got out of it. I had no stops, no hassles, either just one stop all the way there. Marvellous. It was reliable, my bike never broke down. I knew my journey would be about an hour each way. It was normally 45 minutes, but allow for a bit of traffic sometimes. You do it in about an hour. I was lucky I had free parking, I admit, but I could have parked on the street. So there's all these people whinging and whining about problems with the trains and not being able to get here, there, everywhere. Do a Tebbit. Get on your bike. It's not that bad.